It's game time. You know what that means? It's gonna be Framber Valdez versus Charlie Morton, and we're all excited. And we're gonna talk about who made the final World Series roster and who got left off, and who's gonna be starting Game 2 because it's not who we thought it was. And we'll talk about that and more on this special edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Astros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Astros.
And it's World Series Day. That's right. Game 1 in World Series. This is the start of what could be a beautiful 2 weeks, or it could be a heartbreak city, depending on what happens. You never know. That's part of baseball. That's kind of exhilarating and stressful at the same time. We don't know what's going to happen. All we know is that the Astros are throwing their best pitcher up, and that is Framber Valdez. Last time he pitched, he threw 8 innings. So we'll have to see what happens in this situation. But thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen. And I know there's several different places you could be listening right now for your pregame before the World Series Game 1. So thank you for listening, whether it's on YouTube or the other podcasts, whether it's audio version on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts, keep on listening to Locked On Astros podcast. But here it is. And there was a big surprise move. We knew that Jake Meyers would not be on the roster. I mean, the rest of the roster is pretty much set, the same thing as the ALCS. So there wasn't any big changes, but Jake Meyers is off the roster. Marwin Gonzalez is on the roster. I know you're not too excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have to really think about it, where Garrett Stubbs, you had talked about possibly being a third catcher on this roster. I think his bat was kind of hot towards the end of the season, although he didn't do a ton of stuff. He got some key hits and key moments. Taylor Jones, I really like his bat. I like the contact he makes, the power he provides, the versatility in the field. And Marwin Gonzalez, I wouldn't mind him being on the roster, except he hasn't really done anything for me this year. He's been cut from 2 major league teams. I know he's got a huge following in Houston. I know he's a Houston legend from 2017, and he's a great guy on and off the field. But I guess they went with him because he does have that World Series. And if you've got 3 hitters that have not swung a bat in 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to go with a guy who's this more grizzled, more seasoned veteran. So although I'm not 100% on board with it, I understand why they did it.
Yeah, and I think that Dusty Baker went with the fact that he offers flexibility. He can play multiple places across the diamond. He can play in infield. He can play in outfield. He also is a switch hitter, and you kind of touched on it. He has the postseason experience. So I think that's what kind of swayed him over somebody like Taylor Jones or another young player. So I think that's what why they went with Marwin Gonzalez. If you can't have Jake Meyers. If you can't have 50% Jake Meyers, then they decided to go with this route. So other than that, the rest of the roster is pretty much set. I think that the Astros showed that the pitchers they had on the ALCS roster, it's good enough. And so we'll see what happens. And another surprise move that they made was we all thought that Luis Garcia was going to be the Game 2. And if you think back to a few podcasts ago, I said, no, I think that Jose Urquidy should get the start because he would be on the regular rest, and you don't want to keep on delaying his start. And I think that that's what Dusty Baker was saying, is the fact that you want to keep him on rest. And this is what he had to say. He said that he was mindful of rest when deciding to go with Urquidy in Game 2 and Garcia in Game 3. He didn't want to give Urquidy too long a break in between starts. And on the flip side, he wanted to give Garcia more of rest after he pitched Game 6. And I did hear James Click talk about this on MLB Network, and he said that in the last game versus Red Sox, you saw Luis Garcia throwing gas, 97 miles per hour fastballs. And this is a guy that topped off in the regular season at what, 94, 95. So he was throwing some gas. And so you want to give this guy maybe the extra day. And I know that Garcia is typically better at home, but I think that they wanted to kind of give him that extra day of rest after, especially after being a rookie, throwing as many innings as he did this year. But there's so many decisions that went into this, and I think that I think we'll have to see how it plays off.
Yeah.
But what do you think about it?
Well, at first I was a little surprised because I think we were just all shifting back to the rotation how it was in the previous two series. And you would naturally think Garcia's your number 2 guy, you throw him in there. But Urquidy kind of makes sense because he did do a great job on the road against the Nationals in 2019. And he hasn't thrown in a while. You don't want to wait for him to have to throw this weekend because they got 2 games here, the off day, and then the weekend. He's even colder arm-wise. He'll have to throw a bullpen that's not the same. I don't mind Luis Garcia getting the extra rest, getting the mental rest as well, getting a chance for the Astros to go up 2-0 going into Atlanta. That gives real momentum to a rookie pitcher where the Astros could sneak in a game 3 and have a third game and really put the Braves against the wall. So at the end of the day, you have to trust that Dusty, the pitching staff, James Click, they all have a strategic reason why they're doing this. Remember, we talked about this on our crossover before this, that this team is the most battle-tested Astros team that's reached a World Series, and they've overcome a lot. And I think Jose Urquidy, to me, gives me a lot of confidence because of his demeanor, because of his mentality. What you want tonight is you want Framber Valdez to shove. You want him to go 6-7 innings. You need a solid bridge to Presley. And then in game 2, you need Jose Urquidy to go a solid 5-6 innings, and heck, bring in Christian Javier and let Christian Javier pitch 6, 7, and 8, or even 5, 6, and 7, and really bridge that gap. Give him 2 or 3 solid innings if he doesn't have to go tonight, and then he gets a day rest and he's ready to pitch again. So I'm not upset at the move. I was a little surprised.
Yeah. So speaking of being surprised, what if you don't have the right parts for your automobile? You need to go to rockauto.com. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, rockauto.com, with the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, and it's impossible to go to your local auto parts store and stock all the parts that your car needs. Why go to the store and have some behind a counter parts in a warehouse that they can only get one version of when you can go to rockauto.com? They are a reliably low priced website. They don't upcharge you because you're not a mechanic. Sometimes you spend 30, 50, sometimes 100% more going to a dealership or an auto parts store. Not with Rock Auto, because they treat you like family. They want you to go there for everything you need. Tail lamps, brake pads, windshield wipers, headlamps, whatever you need, they've got it at rockauto.com. They have an amazing selection for your car, truck, whatever you drive. So check out rockauto.com. And when you check out in the how did you hear about us box, write Locked On so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the car your parts will ever need at rockauto.com.
Something to keep in mind, going back to this Jose Urquidy versus Luis Garcia, is that Urquidy is an extreme fly ball pitcher. And then you're going to be going on the road in Atlanta. And who's going to be in left field? That would be probably Yordan Alvarez. And so do you really want a lot of fly balls going to a very expansive outfield and with Alvarez out there? So that's another reason why you have Garcia start game 3. And then who's going to be starting game 4? We don't know. So this is what we do know as of net right now. We know game 1 is going to be Framber Valdez. Game 2 is going to be Jose Urquidy. Game 3 is going to be Luis Garcia. Game 4, it's going to be most likely Zach Greinke. I know we talked about it last time that he's probably he's up to at least 50 pitches in a simulated game. So if he's up to 50 pitches, maybe he can get to 60 pitches. That's what, maybe three to 4 innings in a regular game, depending on if he can throw strikes.
I think too, you have to watch how these guys do the first 2 times to the lineup. Are they going to let him do a third time? I don't think someone like Greinke gets a third time through a lineup, no matter how many pitches he has. You let him see him twice, then you bring someone else out there. The bottom line is this: the Astros have to stop the only really hot hitter they have. I mean, they have a couple hot hitters, but Eddie Rosario is hitting out of this world. He is on a tear that we haven't seen from most major leaguers. But let's not be fooled by this. It's Eddie Rosario. No offense, Eddie, but you are not a lifetime 474 hitter. And the Astros pitching is the perfect, I think, opponent to cool these guys down. If they can cool the bats down and they can hit like they do at home and take the advantage, I think there's not a person on this lineup threatening this Astros pitching staff, even though it's quote unquote not the best they've had of all time.
Yeah. So the Astros lineup, it starts off like this. Jose Altuve is leading off. Then you have Michael Brantley, Alex Bregman, Jordan Alvarez, Carlos Correa, Kyle Tucker, Yuli Gurriel, and then Chas McCormick, Martin Maldonado. So that's a pretty good lineup. I think that's the typical situation there. So I'm not sure how much you can change this lineup. So I'm really happy with this. Now, what's going to happen with Atlanta? We'll worry about that in a few days. But this is the lineup that I think we need to see. Now, are we going to see Jose Siri in the lineup tomorrow? That's a question we can worry about tomorrow. But for today, we have Chas McCormick in there against a righty and Charlie Morton. Tomorrow, we'll be facing a lefty. So we may see Jose Siri in there. So we'll see.
So, someone said today, are they going to do a tribute to Charlie Morton? I'm like, no, we've already done a tribute to Charlie Morton. And in my opinion, this is the World Series. Like the tribute thing is over for all the marbles. We're not here to in pleasantries to make you feel good about yourself. We're here to let you know that we're here to beat you. And the Astros team has got one goal in their mind. Michael Brantley, I love, if you just go look up his quotes and what he's been saying to the media, I absolutely love him on this team. He's going and off the field. And the great thing is they don't talk a whole lot, this team, but when they do, they back it up. And so I'm looking for some key moments tonight. Eric, what hitters do you think on the Astros side are going to dazzle us, I should say, in game one?
Well, I think that we need to see Jose Altuve just kind of, I know he's had his moments. Of course, he's had those game tying home runs and everything, but we need to see a more consistent Jose Altuve throughout the series. I think he needs to be that leader. I think that also we need to see more from Kyle Tucker. I know it's hard to ask for more from Kyle Tucker, but I think that especially in game one, Martin Maldonado is 8 for 15 against Charlie Morton in his career. So I think we can expect to have a big game from Martin Maldonado in this in the first game. So we're going to see these hitters have seen a lot of Charlie Morton. Now the rest of the hitters, not the rest of the starters, they have not really seen him a lot. So Ian Anderson and who's the guy we're facing tomorrow? I can't think off the top of my head, but there's I don't know the Braves team. I don't know this Braves team. So this is going to be an interesting situation.
It's going to be Max Fried tomorrow. It's going to be. Are you talking about the starting pitch? Yeah, it's Max Fried tomorrow, and they have 3, but they don't have anything determined for the Braves.
Yeah, but by the way, since the Astros are in the history of the Astros World Series, they have lost every game 1 of the World Series. So they're 0-3. So that's a little scary. But
the law of averages, Eric, the law of averages. If we're 0-3, that means we're due for. So the pendulum would swing back to our side. I would say if we've won every home, I'd be worried about losing it because things seem to swing back and even themselves out,
So, Framber Valdez, as somebody who didn't make the 2019 World Series roster, he is joining Roger Clemens, Dallas Keuchel, and Garrett Cole as Game 1 starters for the Astros in the World Series. So he has now etched his name in the history of the Houston Astros. So. I know that Astro Wolf Craig says that Yuli is going to be MVP. Yeah, Yuli started coming out of his shell. I know in ALDS he didn't have as great of series as he did in ALCS, but the good thing about the Astros lineup, and I think we talked about it with Jake over at the Locked On Braves podcast the other day, is this Astros, except for Martin Maldonado, is deep. There's no easy out. And even if, especially against Charlie Morton, if Martin Maldonado has all the success, it's going to be hard to get these out. So I expect the Astros to knock Charlie Morton out fairly early tonight.
Yeah, that's what you hope that they do. But the thing is, I heard Bregman before the game today talking about Charlie Morton, and they know that he's had success. They know that he's a very good pitcher, a very cerebral pitcher. And so the Astros are going to be set. They are going to go out there with a game plan. And we have some of the smartest hitters. They strike out the fewest, they chase the fewest, they make the most contact, and they have the most experience. Period. End of story. No other team comes close to our experience in the playoffs. What?
According to Mark Berman, MLB per Rob Manfred, the roof's going to be closed tonight.
Oh, I heard
based
that.
on the weather forecast, it'll be open tomorrow.
Yeah, it's supposed to, like, torrential rain, get tornadic type activity up until noon, and then it's supposed to clear out. Then we're supposed to get a lot of heavy wind. I'm hoping that it ticks above 84. If it goes above 85, they will keep the roof closed because the rule is 85 degrees or below. And the humidity is not supposed to be great. So, Rob Manfred, get out of the way. You're not a czar. You're not a communist dictator. Stop trying to ruin stuff. Just go sit in your high dollar seat for free so we can enjoy the game with the roof closed, you jerk.
All right. And he also says, I'm looking forward to a great World Series. I bet you are. You want to get this whole 2017 fiasco out of the way. So I'm excited about this. I know that we have Craig Biggio's throwing out the first pitch before the game today. And then I believe Jeff Bagwell is throwing out the pitch tomorrow. I could have it backwards, but that's pretty cool that you have some of the members of the original World Series roster throwing out the first pitch. So I'm excited about this game. We just wanted to come out and do a quick quick little podcast, just kind of talking about the roster. I'm surprised that Marwin Gonzalez is on it, but at the same time, we're talking about Dusty Baker here. Dusty Baker always goes with the veteran guy, and so Taylor Jones, Marwin Gonzalez, are you really that surprised? I'm not.
I'm not at all.
So,
and that's the thing. And, that's what I was stating earlier. It's not necessarily what I would go with personally, but it doesn't surprise me the moves they made. And, I think, too, listen to Dusty this week, listening to the players buy in Dusty. Whatever problems or issues I've had with him over the season, I mean, it doesn't matter because the players buy into his scheme. So it doesn't matter what a commentator or journalist even says about Baker or his moves. The players love it. The players buy into it, and they're driven by the love, man.
Right. All righty. So, guys, let's get this series off started. And if you're going to Minute Maid Park, if you're waiting at Minute Maid Park and you're watching this podcast, make sure you cheer loud. Give Framber Valdez your love. If you're watching at home, cheer. Pretend like they can hear you. This is our moment. This is our time. Let's support this team. Go Astros. Let's win this in 6. That way we don't have to worry about Game 7 because you know what can happen in Game 7? Anything. And you don't want to put yourself in that situation. Just remember what happened in 2019. Eric Huysman out. We'll be back with a podcast after the game. Go Stros.